Just a couple bad weather fans representing New York, talking all things sports. Man, what could go wrong? We got Alex, who's a fan of the Knicks, and Mike of the Nets. The yin-yang of the tri-state, place your bets on the Yankees, Giants, Mets, or Jets. Yeah, you should listen if they're sparking your interest. If you made a vow to your team, don't break it. Bad weather fans is the relation.
That's right, Bad Weather Fans, episode number 110. Mike Biseglia, Alex Benezowitz, and we're smiling to start the episode. Not so much for the Nets the night before, although the Hornets do lose to the Nuggets. The Knicks get the win. They defeat the Chicago Bulls in New York, and we're headed down the final stretch of the season now. Knicks, Nets, 6-7 games each. Nets right now technically at the 8th spot. The Knicks at the 11th spot. 5 back in the loss column of Atlanta as games start to dwindle down. But Alex, Knicks get a win, and RJ Barrett played well. Julius Randle did not. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, one of those games where Randle just didn't have it, man. 1 for 9 going into the fourth, and he ran. Thibs sat. The crowd was booing Randle, and they were chanting Obi, and then he sat Randle and Obi took over. I mean, didn't take over, but he played really well. And he had that one play in the post on Levine where he just took him to school. And it was really great to see. And it's almost crazy that fans can actually tell Thibs, this is what you should do. And he listened, and somehow they did it without watching film. It's crazy. According to Thibs, Knicks fans may have an opinion unless you watch film, which is nuts. We'll get into that in a little bit. But I'm doing well, happy. Knicks won. I'm always happy when they win. I don't care. The tanking, this is not a tanking season. Just win as many games as possible. And just, as long as RJ is playing well, I'm good, So that's my answer.
Yeah. I like the couple Knicks fans that go back at you about your RJ Barrett love. And I get validation out of that. I like RJ Barrett. I think he's a really, really good player and ascending in the right direction. But it is funny when I see
28 tonight again. 28 tonight.
He's playing really well. No, absolutely. I mean, the Knicks are cooking right now. They're winning games. They just dug themselves in such a terrible hole that they put themselves in a position where they're just a bajillion games back with so many to play. And do
you have the box score in front of you, by the way? Do you have the box
I don't, but I have my iPhone. I can look.
Oh no, okay. No, I just thought you had it in front of you. I wanted to ask you about a quick stat because I saw a crazy stat about Deuce McBride, where if he going into tonight, if he plays over 15 minutes, the Knicks are 8-3 this season, which is crazy. Shows you just a little bit of point guard play. It could be a coincidence, maybe, but probably half of that is a coincidence. But I don't know if he played over 15 tonight to make it 9-3, but it's just. It's nice to see. I mean, quickly has been
7 minutes.
His own 7 minutes. Okay, so it doesn't count. So 8-3 this year when he plays over 15 minutes. I'm sure take that stat for what you want. I saw somebody tweet that out today. I don't remember who it was, but quickly he's been playing really well. He's been hitting shots. He's been under control as well. Obi looks good under control, hitting some threes tonight. That was nice. If he's going to hit those, then you have no problem. Just want to address at the end of the game, Julius Randle, Thibs puts him back in the game. When he was 2 or 3 minutes left in the game, maybe 3 minutes left in the game when, it was time to put him back in, I guess, if
Chicago closed the gap. They got it to 4 and then to 1. And then, the final stretch there.
And, I kill Thibs a lot, but I get him putting his, one of his starters back in the game in that moment. You know what I mean? So it's you put him back in the game and he, hits a couple big free throws. He, has a couple dumb plays early in the game. And then at the end of the game, the clock and the buzzer rings and he takes the ball and he just flings the ball and walks right to the locker room. Doesn't congratulate anybody, doesn't shake anybody's hands, nothing. Doesn't care. It's just, he's totally disengaged with the team. And I don't know why he's still playing. He's gone. He has to be gone. I know I thought Thibs would be gone at the All-Star break, but they're just being stubborn with him. Maybe, if he changes, who cares if Thibs stays? If he changes his lineups and his outlook on the team, then I don't care. But Randall's got to go, man. He's got to go.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, that's completely over. I think that's a foregone conclusion at this point. His attitude's been terrible. He's disconnected from the team, and that's just that's old news in a sense. He's gone. It's just the same thing. I think for the Knicks, you just have to go through it. You're going to have to deal with him playing. I'm sure, let's say there's 6 games left. He's not playing in all 6. There'll be some game here or there that he's not playing, come up with an injury, whatever it might be, blah, blah, blah. He won't be in all 6 of these left. And, I know you get to your poll question when we end this, but for the Knicks now, it's just watching the development of these young players and getting excited about them for the future. And that's okay. And that's a rational, real thought to have if you're a Knicks fan. You like what you've seen from RJ Barrett. You're excited about quickly coming on. He's become more of a threat. You hope to see Obi Toppin get more minutes. You're going to have another lottery draft pick. Maybe something kooky happens there and you jump up a couple or whatever it might be. You're 9, 10, whatever the pick ends up being. And then you draft well and you continue this progress forward. I mean, that's the deal. That's what it really is. And at this point, everything else is just noise. It really is. If you're a Knicks fan, I don't know how you don't feel at least a little bit excited as the season is winding down and you feel good going into part of the rebuild of what this is. I mean, I understand the disappointment of how things ended last year and you felt like you're going into this season, but where they were, how RJ Barrett started the season to where he is now, to now knowing you have a cornerstone piece for your team and for your franchise and a 21-year-old player you hope could be with you for the next 10 years or whatever. You have to feel good about that. And in the long run, would it have been nice to win games in the play? Of course it is. But this is where you are now, and you have to deal with reality. Would the Knicks have been better all season if this is what they did? Who the hell knows? I saw Zach Noble tweet this out, and he's like, the Knicks are 9-6 in March. If they played like this the whole year, they'd have a better record. I mean, maybe not. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's. Who really knows? I mean, in the beginning of the season, if the Knicks weren't playing Julius Randle, I mean, I know how much of you were on his bandwagon. Like, how would Knicks fans felt if you're like, well, we got to play Obi more minutes. He's getting 24 minutes. You've been, what are we doing here? We got an all NBA second team. So I understand the perspective there and I get that. But in the long run, it happened for a reason. The Knicks got to this point. This is where they are now. And you just feel good that you have a young nucleus of guys that you can at least build around. Will they be great? I don't know. But at least you have some hope.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. And yeah, it was, some fans were a little ridiculous with Randall, and that's why I was defending him probably too much, because in hindsight, because it was just more like, why are you like, relax? It's November and you already want to get rid of this guy. Like, relax. You see what he did last year. It was December. Look what this guy did last year. Chill out. But come January, February, when he's throwing laptops at assistant coaches' faces, he's getting fans kicked out.
It got bad fast.
It's just, you know what? Get out of here, dude. It's at some point I was wrong. You know what I mean? At some point, you just have to realize that this guy has changed. Maybe I wasn't wrong. I was right last year. I mean, but now it's just like, it's obvious. It's over. Things have changed. You know what I mean? And just trying to stick a square peg in a round hole. Our favorite saying here.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to react to it this time.
As I spit all over myself and drool at myself laughing. But it's ridiculous. And that's why I love that lineup at the end of the third quarter. We had IQ, Deuce, RJ, Obi, and Sims. Switch Sims and Mitch, whatever, all the time. Who cares? But like, that's the kind of lineup I want to watch. And even Burks not playing like the ball dominant point guard. At the end of the game, you see he hits the big shots. He's spotting up, hitting jump shots in the paint. And that's the kind of guy Burks is. He's not a fucking point guard. You know what I mean? Square peg, round hole, Mike. That's what I'm talking about. What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, with Burks, I always liked him when he's in the right spots.
Right. He's okay.
Put him where he needs to be. He's wide open, quickly creates, makes space, and then he hits the shot. It's a big one, pretty much puts him up 4,
puts it over,
22 seconds left. The NBA, a lot of shit can happen, but you're feeling good at that that point.
And that was still to win the game in Detroit. He had the last shot. He stole it from Cade and won the game. And that's a big play.
I don't think the Bulls are great. I think they're good, but I think they've come back to earth of where they are. I don't think they're an elite team in the Eastern Conference. But what the Knicks are doing now, right here in this later run, which they weren't doing before, is they're closing games and they're winning games. The Piston game, it got dicey there. It got a little scary, and Detroit had their chances, but they didn't win it at the end. Here, Chicago, it's a 1-point game. DeMar DeRozan gets the hoop, or there's like a 15-footer, can't make the shot. The Knicks hold on. It's the same thing for 46 minutes. The Knicks are just winning games in the last 2, and that's why they've had a better March. They're getting better at closing out opponents. And really, since that Phoenix loss, it's been a nice little stretch for the Knicks. Like I said before, they just dug themselves too big of a hole, and now they're 8 games under 500, and essentially almost eliminated just the Hawks win again tonight. They're 5 back in the loss column of Atlanta.
It's
Knicks
over,
have
yeah.
6 games left. It would take a historic collapse from the Hawks. And I tweeted this out, and I mean it. Like, I will be rooting for the Nets on Wednesday.
The Knicks,
The Knicks on Wednesday.
Well, for the Nets, because
that's what
by
I'm
way
thinking.
of the Knicks, yeah.
And the Knicks beat the Hornets recently in Charlotte, which did help the Nets. The Nets had a terrible loss versus the Hornets just the other night. And, it's funny because you see this, like, you can make the narrative how you want to make it, right? Like, the Nets destroy the Miami Heat. They're up 37 points at one point. A Net fan won't reference that Miami was on a back-to-back, although Miami wins big tonight, right? But then the Nets go on their back-to-back, and they lose to the Hornets, and boom, now the Hornets go on their back-to-back. They play the Nuggets, and they lose. So this is what the NBA is, right? The problem for the Nets is, and I saw your tweet, you don't think they're good. I would disagree with that. I think they're still an unknown. To say they're not good, I think is too harsh on them. The problem for the Nets is they're running out of time. And the Nets the Nets are winning games. They're winning 2 out of every 3 games they play right now. Basically, they're going 2-1 spurts, 2-1, 2-1.
You can win a series that way, yeah. That's
But the problem is when they put themselves like the Knicks, but in a different vein, in such a big hole. You got to win all of these, and having a stretch where you go 5-2 or 6-3 just isn't good enough. And especially when you're playing a team like the Hornets, which you're fighting for your playoff lives against, it was a brutal loss, and one that was frustrating because they were up 12 in the second quarter. Then they came back late in the fourth. An electric crowd at Barclays for the return of Kyrie, and they just fell short. And again, it's just one game there, but it was disappointing. I mean, end of story.
It was a buzzkill game.
Yeah, it was a buzzkill game.
Loss. Yeah. And I think like LaMelo, watching him guard Kyrie, I feel like he's one of the few guys in the NBA that can stay with Kyrie that's almost as quick as Kyrie. Where I'm not saying he is, because Kyrie's probably the quickest player in the NBA, just as far as stop on the dime, go left to right, cross, whatever. But LaMelo is kind of at that same level speed wise. You know what I mean? Not talent, obviously, but so that's kind of a tough matchup there. I know towards the end of the game, Kyrie started getting in the paint and hitting some layups and doing his thing, even though he was struggling most of the game. So, I feel like the Nets will be okay and they'll get into that play-in tournament. Obviously, they need to now the Hornets own the tiebreaker on them, which is huge.
That was big.
Yeah, that is huge. So it's basically, you're up a half game now in 8 seed, right? So, but it's essentially tied. Because it's never going to end in a half game.
Well, no, they're technically up because the Hornets now have one more loss, so it goes back into the Nets' control.
Okay. I didn't see. I just saw that they were up a half game. I didn't know.
Yeah, it's a half in the L, and that's so they're 39-37. The Nets are 39-36. So with that loss there, it brings the Nets back in control of their home court or their own destiny per se. Like if they win out, they get it. But that was such a swing game because then the Nets would have gone up 2 in the standings, would have owned the tiebreaker. And now all of a sudden you're like, okay, they're up 2. They own the tiebreaker. There's 6 left. The Nets schedule eases up a little bit. You're going to feel like, okay, they can at least get the 8. Do they have a chance to catch the 7? But what that loss did was it just brought this last 6-7 games to just be up for it. And the Nets better when they play the Pistons, they cannot come out and be lackadaisical and lazy and keep it close and give Detroit life. The Nets need to come out versus Detroit and just stomp them out. They need to just start this game on fire, go up big, get a huge lead, and take it seriously. And that's disappointing, I think, as you watch some of the Nets and you see when they play Miami and they just destroy them. They play Philly and they just destroy them. It's in them to do it. And then you have these games where it's almost as if they don't realize that they're in the play-in and they have lackadaisical moments. And you're going, what is happening here? You are basically tied with Charlotte. This is not about, we'll coast and we'll figure it out late. You got to just come out with some energy. And those are the moments that scare me. It's stuff like that scares me, that they don't have the DNA to do it. Not the talent, not the cohesiveness yet. Like, it's just the fact that they don't have this mindset to go out and win games that they need to win. That was frustrating for me. And I just go out versus Detroit. Detroit's got some nice young players. They
play hard, man. Pistons play hard.
But you can't come out and give them life. You have to come out with a defensive mindset and just take it to them and win this game and dominate from start to finish. make sure your guys get rest, and then go into a major showdown Thursday. And it's not a major showdown because of bragging rights or who's the better team or figuring out who you might find later. They need wins, and they got the Bucks who are good. They got to take care of Detroit come on Tuesday night.
Yeah, and the Pistons don't lay down, man. They're a team that plays hard. Cade Cunningham has a lot of pride. I mean, you guys are lucky Jeremy Grant's out for the year now, so they shut him down. So that's a big plus for you guys for the Nets tomorrow. Marvin Bagley, it looks like he's resurrected himself here in Detroit. He's been really playing really well. I mean, he dominated Julius Randle, but before that, he's been playing really well. It wasn't just Randle; it's a defensive Randle, but they're not just going to lay down, man. Isaiah Stewart, these guys play tough, and they're not your typical bottom of the conference team. And of course, but as I'm saying this, the Nets are probably win by 37 points. But they have talent. You know what I mean? They don't care. They're one of those. Cade is one of those guys that's just not going to care. He's gonna obviously he's not there yet. He's a rookie, first pick in the draft, but they're going to put up a game. They're not going to lay down. This is their finals at the end of the year, sort of. You know what I mean? If you can pick off Durant and Kyrie and screw up their season, it's a big deal for them, man.
Well, that's why I come out with the point. You got to just come out early and show you're the aggressor and not let this
punch him in the mouth
be interesting. You got
Smack
Kevin Durant. They need to come out and just dominate. So.
Yeah,
I don't need.
They play up and down to their competition. The Nets, really, they do. They play up and down to their competition.
Well, so with Durant back,
as a fan, if I was a fan.
Oh, you see the Sixer game? I mean, they blasted them,
killed them.
The Miami game, they blasted them.
Yep.
And what's crazy is this East. I mean, the Celtics took a huge hit today with the news about with Robert Williams out.
And Mobley went down today too for the Cavs.
I saw that X-rays negative. I believe was a Woj tweet, but. I think at the end of the day, with all of this, it's going to be it's the Bucks sitting there. I mean, I think I truly do. It's the Bucks there, and Miami's fallen. Boston takes that hit. I don't trust the Sixers, but I just want to get through the play-in. Oh my God.
Yeah, I keep saying Durant will get you one, but like I said on the last episode or the one before, we thought Steph Curry would get you one last year. He didn't. So it's just, you gotta get to that 8 seed and make sure it's just you can win that first one and be done, or you have the ability to lose one and then still win.
And what's wild too is as excited as everybody is about Kyrie Irving coming back, if the Nets have to go to Toronto,
they can't.
He's not there. So I'm like rooting for the Raptors to win, which reminds me now I want to see what the score of that is because I need. Let's see. It's the Raptors. Okay, good. The Raptors came back. They did defeat the Celtics, who had everybody rested in overtime. Nobody played. Nobody played. So Toronto then is still one game ahead of Cleveland. And this is not like a disrespect to the Cavs. Be careful what you ask for. Be careful what you ask for. It has nothing to do with that. It's just the fact that Kyrie can go to Cleveland and he can't go to Toronto. It's that. It's nothing to do with like. Oh, you be careful the team you want. It never works out for you that way. Well, if you can't take your best players there, it's a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, the Nets just get in. That's all you have to think about. If you have to go to Toronto, you have to go to Toronto. But at least if you're the 8th seed, you can afford to lose a game without Kyrie, and then you're there. And then you don't have to worry about that ever again the rest of the season. Once you're in the playoffs and Toronto's gone, that's it. You're done. And so that's a positive for the Nets, I guess, but I won't be rooting for that.
No, I get it. What's crazy too is we've gone this whole episode. I haven't even talked about Ben Simmons. He's still dangling out there. Is he coming back? Is he not?
How many games are left? 5. I mean, how is he going to play? 7 games? I
mean, you don't know. I don't know. I would say it leans that way, but I wouldn't put it past the Nets to surprise you. I really wouldn't.
That's true, but you also got to remember Ben Simmons is not really the best playoff performer. So
I understand.
Throwing him in game 1 in the playoffs is kind of crazy, but he has to play in the regular season.
Yes, agreed with that. But I don't think the Nets would be looking at Ben Simmons to come in and play 40 minutes.
Right.
I think for them,
go guard him.
Like for real. You saw James Johnson. If Ben Simmons takes that role where he's like, you know what, your back's good, guard Bridges. We give
stay in front of him.
Don't let LaMelo Ball get in the paint. Like that's what he does. Right. And then essentially you can spread the floor with Irving, Durant, Seth Curry. Now am I saying, can you hide Ben Simmons and is he going to have to make shots? Of course. But that I think would be the role for him, is just be the stopper on
Does his
defense if you're healthy enough and get in
does his
transition.
defensive prowess help, counteract his offensive, liability him on offense?
Have you seen James? I'm saying James Johnson.
No, I know.
I'm saying yes, it's an upgrade. No,
Yes,
is it?
okay.
I mean, is it a big long-term thing for you have to be worried about it? Yeah, he's going to have to, be better than what he was in Philly to earn big minutes when it counts. But I'm just saying, for this situation where we are now, if you're just hoping to God he can play, that's all you're looking for. 15, 20 minutes can come out.
Give me something.
Something. And something I did want to bring up, because I'm so mad at myself about this. I was texting with you. You triggered me on Twitter on Monday after the net loss, and I wasn't planning on tweeting you. And you had basically said you were laughing at the Nets, and they're basically saying they're not good. And then I wasn't planning on it. I shrugged it off. And then I saw a lot of the Net fans that listen to this podcast that know you and like you, and they started going at it. And then I just felt the urge that I had to do it. And I'm mad at myself for doing it, because I know I shouldn't be triggered by that, and I shouldn't get emotional over that. And I'm mad at myself for reacting.
Can I ask you a question?
Because you got what you wanted, and I fell for it.
I didn't want to troll. I wasn't trolling you, and I was just legitimately happy that the Nets lost, and I got excited and I tweeted it out.
But in the moment, if you're a Net fan and you see that, it's hard to take.
Well, that's the idea, because
it worked, and I'm mad at myself.
Nets fans have been assholes to me ever since the Durant thing and Kyrie and everything, and they've been total assholes, and that's why every single time. And I know I give it back, but you know what? It's just when I have a chance, and because they don't stop. And even when I don't tweet about the Nets for like a month and a half, I'm getting married. People are fucking tweeting me shit. And it's just like, you know what? When I have the opportunity, I'm going to give it right back to you. So if you don't like it, then don't tweet me. Or just I don't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just what it is. This is the game now.
What I'm curious
that's being played.
And I know you said you wanted to ask me a question, but what I'm curious is that I don't know the extent of what went down. I didn't know you then, and I don't know how back and forth you went on Twitter with people, and how I imagine knowing you that there probably was. It wasn't just like, here come these Nets assholes. There had to have been some sort of back and forth which triggered them to not like you on social media. So like in my head, I don't want to accuse you of something, but I know that it wasn't just like, here's Alex, Saint New York Nick, who's the man. Like, I'm sure you had said something that had made them upset.
Well, I just didn't give them their flowers. I didn't give you the flowers of oh, you signed Durant and Kyrie. Like, let me bow down to you. I was like, good. I didn't want Durant.
Right. Okay. That's all I need. Okay. So I'm just trying to get to where we're going. Yeah.
And sure, I might, I'm probably wrong about that. You know what I'm saying? But, and Durant hasn't really played a lot, and they haven't won, et cetera, et cetera. But the story hasn't been written about Durant yet. So, obviously he looks great when he's playing, et cetera, et cetera. We down this road a million times. I can't.
A little bit of the story's been written. I think the fact that he came back from his Achilles and he's leading the league in scoring and
well,
he is injury.
He missed a lot of games.
He is injured. He's definitely injury.
Leading the league in scoring when you miss half the games. It's not the same.
I mean, he's definitely injury prone. There's no doubt about that. And as a Net fan, I'm terrified. But I think some of his story's been written, that he came back from his Achilles.
Yes.
When people said
the end of the story is not written. How about that?
Right.
The end of the story is not written.
Yeah. I mean, but for sure, I hear you on that. So what was your question for me?
Are the Nets the Lakers of the East?
No.
Why?
Well, they're 3 games over 500, not 11 under.
I know that, but like, as far as all the stars and still like not good. Like, yes, they're good, but they're not good in the standings. As when you look at the standings, if you didn't know anything about basketball, you weren't following the NBA at all today, you look at the standings, you'd be like, the Nets suck. You know what I mean? That's what you would think.
Yeah, I would say the difference between the two is, and it's an understandable comparison. I think it's
star power.
I think it's something like, it feels like Nick Wright just put on the radio or something and was like, let's do this. Or the Nets Lakers. Like, that's what that feels.
I'm not saying I believe it. I'm just asking you. I saw somebody tweet that out or something recently, and I was like, that's a good idea. I just wanted to ask you that question.
Yeah, I saw that. It's a first take Nick conversation. Well, it's that kind of thing.
It's a daytime, midtime TV, cable TV.
I think it actually was a conversation they had, and I think it was. I think the difference is, I don't think the Lakers have a chance to get to the finals or win. I think the Nets do. And I'm not saying
that's crazy. The Nets are still favorite, like the second highest favorite team to win the title.
That's an interesting. Like, how is that? I don't get game. I don't understand.
I don't get that either. I'll pull it up right now and tell you.
I don't get how that works.
Mhm.
And I've said this, and I'll say it. I've said this every time we've done this. I could see the Nets losing the play-in game or win, and everything. But I don't understand. And there's something I did want to say about the Nets if they make the playoffs. I don't understand like why Vegas is so in love with them.
It's crazy. So it's the Suns are the most favorite team, obviously the best team in the NBA. Then the Nets over the Bucks, Warriors, Celtics, Sixers, Heat, Grizzlies. Wow, Jazz, Nuggets, Mavericks, Clippers, blah blah blah. The Bulls, and then the Bulls, which is all the way down there, which is great. So that's nuts. When you're 9-8 seed, whatever you are now today, and you're the second, like that's just insane. Again, you go back to a team that if a fan just turned on the TV today, knew about basketball, but wasn't following the NBA, they'd be like, "How is this possible?"
Yeah. Well, it shows the minimization of the regular season that they think basically.
True. That's true.
It does. They look at it in a couple ways too. Durant missed all those games, so that deflated their record.
And Kyrie as well.
This season for the Nets has been insane. There's been so much going on with it, and part of me was thinking, like, man, it'll just be nice when there's just some sort of mental clarity on whatever the situation is. The day to day on this is exhausting.
Yeah. But this is the era you're in with Durant. Kyrie era has just been nonstop, up and down, left and right. TV, what's that? Whose birthday party? COVID.
I get it. I get it.
It's craziness.
But you're in it.
That's what I didn't want.
I understand.
Shit that I didn't want.
But when you're in it, at least like, all right, tomorrow they could figure it. I think they could get it done. They could win. And I want to.
They click. If they snap into place, man, it's they can run.
And that's a nice transition in what I wanted to say. And I've said this before, but I haven't said this on Bad Weather Fans yet. Like, to me, let's say the Nets get into the playoffs and they have their first round matchup versus the Milwaukee Bucks, and Nets are sorting out chemistry. Are they good enough? Do they have what I was talking about before, this energy issue? And they go out and they beat the Bucks in 6. Ben Simmons comes in. He looks solid. And the Nets just roll through Milwaukee. Like, to me, that's their season. If they could do that, then you're telling me in the second round, the injured Celtics or the Bulls, like, they wouldn't feel good. Like, if they can, maybe I have said this before in this podcast, but I wanted to get it out again.
You're on so many podcasts now, man. You're just
if they get through, like, let's say they get the first round and beat the Bucks and have or learn chemistry there, then the rest to me is a wrap. Like, then and I will, during the moments, you'll never hear me say that, but like, to get through that would be their regular season, where they grew up as a team, and now it's like, okay, now we're gonna go play against the Sixers. Now we're gonna go play against the Celtics. If they could get through something like that, that would be their regular season, just advancing in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing to add to that, man. It's
good.
True. It's true. I have nothing to add to that. It's just a good point. I mean, the Nets can win a round if they get into the regular playoffs and they win a round. Everybody's be like, oh shit, it's going to be one of those, like, all right, here we go, because they've been the paper champions for so long that now you got to see it, and once you see it, then people are going to believe it right away. It's not like the Bucks of last year or the year before winning a round. They're like, whatever, the Bucks, whatever. Right. It's like, oh shit, we got Durant and Kyrie and they're playing well. No, thank you.
And this has been such a wild week. We didn't even talk. I mean, last time we recorded, Kyrie was still a part-time player, and I believe, I don't know the timing of it, but no, it was
Tuesday,
like a day.
Last Tuesday. Yeah,
we recorded Tuesday, then Wednesday night, really, it came down that Kyrie was back, so he's now there full time. I mean, it's been the twists and turns of this season, man.
It's great. You can do a whole documentary on this Nets season, like a literal,
hopefully a good one.
Even if it doesn't end well for you and it ends well for me, you can really do a nice, Yes Network airing at 10 p.m. on a Sunday night kind of documentary. You know what I mean? Like that, it'll be really probably more than that. You really could do a 30 for 30 on it. Honestly, the whole Nets era from the free agency with the Knicks and the Nets and the whole thing, you literally can do something. It just is, how is it going to end? You know what I mean? Because it's been wild. As much as it's not the Knicks, this is not knocking the Nets. They're not the number one team in the neighborhood and whatever, who cares? But it's still been crazy up and down. This whole season in general was like 4 seasons. You start off with Harden, and then it's just great. I don't know.
Kyrie not being there full time, Harden getting traded, Durant being hurt, him coming back. the new roster. Then they get this roster. Ben Simmons back. I mean, it really has been.
Yeah.
Those are like the
Crazy.
big bullet points. Will you be rooting for the Hornets on Wednesday just to spite the Nets?
No. But I can't say that a part of me, if they do lose, it would be like, you know what I mean? Like one of those,
Same
like,
feeling in reverse. At least
Yeah.
if the Hornets are going to win, at least it'll the Knicks.
Yeah, but it kind of hurts you a little.
No, it hurts
You
a
know?
lot more.
Yes,
It hurts a
little
lot
bit.
more.
Yeah, but no, I honestly, it depends how they lose. If they lose by 30, it's just like, all right, whatever, good. You know, like it doesn't matter, you know. But if they're in it at the end and Thibs does something stupid or Randle does something stupid and annoys me, or there's a bad turnover or there's a bad call, then I'll be pissed. You know what I mean? I could say it now that I won't care, but maybe the next morning or within 20 minutes after the game, I'll be like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, then that's what I gotta say. That Knicks Nets game next week is looking kind of big. It would be crazy if the Knicks are the team that knocks the Nets down to the 9 or 10 seed with a win, because they're due to beat the Nets.
Yeah.
They're due to beat the Nets.
They are due. They are due.
Kind of scary for you. I know.
I mean, since we've been doing this podcast,
law of averages.
The Nets are 3-0 this year. They were 3-0 last year.
Mhm.
I don't remember our timing. If the Knicks beat the Nets,
We started when the
pandemic
pandemic hit.
But then there was pandemic games, so I don't remember.
Knicks weren't in the bubble. Knicks weren't in the bubble.
Oh, they didn't even. I don't even remember now. Right,
They just
went
missed
right to
the bubble.
playoffs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, they had a few regular season games, right? And then like it was like, remember the Suns went like 7-0, and
Yeah, so they were
playoffs.
regular season games. So
Yeah,
did
but
the
the
Knicks
Knicks
and Nets play each other during that stint?
No, so not every team got to the bubble. Like the top
that's right,
12
that's
teams,
right.
I think, got to the bubble. And the Knicks were like right under that or something.
Forgive me for forgetting. My apologies, everybody. I don't need to.
Well, that's because yeah, you're an asshole. No, that's because Fizdale was so bad. He was like 4-20 or something crazy, like insane. And then Miller came in and he was a real coach, and there were like 10 games on the 500 with him. And RJ started rolling at the end of the season. And then, Bobby Porter started looking good. And then all of a sudden the season ended with Vince Carter hitting a 3 at the end of the Hawks game.
Yes. Okay. so that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So then we've never had a Nick win while we've done this podcast.
Yeah.
6-0.
And you might be mushing yourself right now.
Oh my God. I am definitely. No, trust me. I fear it. I mean, it is we didn't record after the last game, but
that was a Sunday game.
We've done the 5 other ones, and they've all been very.
Even that Sunday game was big. That was fun.
Oh, yeah.
That was a fun game. Yeah.
They've been fun.
It's a rivalry. I know it's not like, they're not fighting for, standings and they're not in a playoff series, and the rivalry police will come after me with, the bells and whistles on. But
right. It's a big game to get the Nets and knock them down for you guys.
Fans care, man. When the fans care, the players care. They're in the same neighborhood. They hear all the chirping. Knicks hear everybody trashing them. The Nets hear everybody, saying the Knicks to own the town. The players care. If Durant didn't care, he wouldn't be trashing the Knicks with a tweet after, that 20-point comeback or 30-point comeback, whatever it was at the Garden. 26. They fucking care. 26.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's why I love Durant, is that he is a Net. I mean, and that is nice as a Net fan. And
he gets you.
And I don't know.
Yeah.
From my perspective, it's like that he does those little nudge things and he embraces being a Net. It is cool because he's Kevin fucking Durant at the end of the day. That's KD out there, man. And that's but again, he's got to show up. He's got to show up. He's got to get
What's the Nets record with Kyrie, by the way, and Durant?
Not good.
With Kyrie and Durant. It's like 6-4 or something.
I didn't know the answer. They've played in 9 games now together. It's nothing. I don't know. That's a good question.
So
I should know
that's the whole thing. But that's part of my tweet yesterday. I didn't articulate it well because I was just excited after the Nets Hornets game. I was just excited that the Nets lost, and I was like, they're not a good team. But like, who is really, obviously Durant and Kyrie. I'm answering my own question, but you're not going to be that scared of the Nets looking at them coming in. You're like, they can be beat. You know what I mean? Obviously, the Nets come off and pick off a game or two in the beginning of the series. Then you're like, oh shit, but. They can be beaten, and they're not some unbeatable super team like we thought they'd be going into the season. That's kind of where I was coming at. They're the 8th or 9th seed, and
without a doubt, couldn't agree with you more. I would say, I would be like, let's say you're the Bucks, and they're not going to be scared. But if you had to pick a preference for your first round matchup, are you like, man, I rather see the Hornets are an upstart team, but the Hornets are your prototypical like. Young players, potential stars, but they've got to go through the learning growth. They've got to go through it and
they got to lose a little bit more.
Right. The Hornets,
they'll be happy to be there.
And then the next year, LaMelo's developing, they get better, and they make what you thought we had with the Knicks in a sense.
Yeah.
the Nets, they're like, all right, fuck. This is like, we got to deal with this now. And they would never say, I don't think the Bucks players would ever say like, oh, we prefer the Hornets, or Budenholzer would say that. But it's just like, oh my God, this is a reward for being the 1 seed is going up against this is annoying, would be annoying. Spen Harris had the funniest thing. He tweeted, he does Fireside Nets. He's a great Nets podcast.
If we're supposed to have him on this week.
Yeah, he'll live. Sorry, we'll have him another point. Yeah. But I
told him this week and I totally spaced. I'm sorry, Spen, if you're listening.
He had something like, because a 9 seed ever won the championship. Like the Nets could be a 9 seed and win a title.
What's the lowest seed to win a title? Do you know?
6 Rockets.
Yeah, the Rockets in 95. Yeah.
Knicks came close at 8.
At 8, yeah, but they were fake 8
finals.
Seeds. Yeah, that was the lockout year.
But that's the thing, fake 8 seeds, man. There are fake 8 seeds. They're fake 9 seeds.
Yeah. Well, they played a full season this year. It's just there was a lot of injuries and drama that's never seen before kind of drama with COVID and shit. So it's kind of I can give you fake 8 seed this year. They're a fake 8-9 seed. That's fine. Similar to a lockout shortened season where the Knicks are actually a good team and they just started slow and then turned it on at the end of the year, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I just whatever.
That's a perfect example, right? For that Knicks seed as the 8, they were the 8 seed. They had the epic best of 5, right, versus Miami.
Right.
They
Houston
win that.
Ended,
they steamroll Atlanta. I think they swept the Hawks.
Swept them.
And then they beat the Pacers in 6, right?
Yeah. Then Pacers in 6. The LJ 4-point play.
But once you got through that Miami series, it was like no one's stopping this train.
Yeah, and the Hawks were just like, holy fuck. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what just happened here? You know, it just, man, I wish the Knicks didn't trade Camby, man. Like, I still do. I know he got hurt, and just thinking about how that year Camby was just, oh my God, you just saw what he could be. He wasn't scared. He would dunk it on. That's why I compare him to Mitchell Robinson. Because Mitchell Robinson, when he gets the ball and he's 5 feet out and he's dunking it, if there's 5 people in front of him, he's going to try to dunk it. Like it's like he presses a button on his controller and he's dunking. Like the dunk button is going. Like he doesn't care if there's anybody in front of him. And that's how Camby was. He would just come down the hole and he's putting it in your mouth. Like, you better get out of the way or you're going to get hit by this train. And he was like 110 pounds soaking wet, but he was coming. And that's why he always got hurt, and that's the same thing with Mitch. And if he can ever keep it healthy, he can be a defensive player of the year kind of candidate. And, because he already blocking shots at a high rate. I think he's like in the top 10 of block shots total in the season. And he plays like 20 something minutes a game. Like that's insane, so that's why they got to keep him. But we'll see what happens this offseason. I can't get there yet. There's still some games left here,
I feel pivoting for a second, but I feel bad because I didn't know you were watching the Oscars, and I didn't know you were behind a little bit because you had a DVR whatnot, but you had to start it late.
Because my wife was on the phone and I wanted to watch it with her, and then I watched watching the Nets game. I'm just explaining to people why I was watching the Oscars on DVR.
Oh,
so
no,
we paused
it,
and then we went back and watched it.
You hate commercials.
Yes,
but I didn't realize you weren't up to what had happened, and I sent you the tweet of it, and I feel bad that
you spoiled the smack.
Yeah. Well, I think seeing that. Knowing that's coming, there's no way in hell you would ever anticipate that was about to go down on TV. But now you were like, okay, here it comes. I didn't know bad about that.
You sent me a tweet. You're like, holy shit, is this real or stage? And I saw 2 guys in suits on the stage. So I was kind of waiting to see when that was something. I knew something crazy was happening. And then you texted me again. I looked back at my phone and you said something about a slap. I was like, oh, you fucking ruined it. But I didn't read your text message. I was trying so hard, like not to get it completely spoiled. But then I knew something was happening. And once I saw Chris Rock and there, I was like, oh, this is when something's happening. But I didn't tell Hannah, my wife. I let it happen to her.
What was her reaction?
What the fuck? What just happened? And she was at the end of the Oscars. Like, she's so cute. We were trying to like put on like a post game. We put on E! Channel. We're trying to find the post game of the Oscars, trying to see is somebody talking about this. And we're both like browsing Twitter, and she doesn't have Twitter. She's just like browsing it, looking for something funny.
Was that the biggest TV event of that proportion since Janet Jackson's boob?
Of like, oh, crazy,
like just everybody
saga,
was like talking about it. It'd be,
Yeah, I mean it's pretty. I would say so. I think that's like a very comparable situation. I mean, that was like weird. That was a weird situation. The Justin Timberlake thing. That was weird. Because she didn't even like it. And thinking about Chris Rock, to bring it full circle, he has a stand-up. He's like, you can't bring a 40-year-old titty on a Sunday afternoon. So it's just you got to watch that stand up. Anybody's ever seen it, he brings it together. He's like, you can't, I'm not going to go into it. It won't be the same, and it'll sound like a sexist pig. But it's just funny if you watch that stand. Might even cut that out.
That's up to you.
No, we're not.
I don't even know if you wanted to talk about this, but the only thing I wanted to say, because a billion people have said things, it made me just feel really sad and depressed, and I felt bad for the situation, and I don't have like a side or thing. I think it just really humanizes everybody, and I think sometimes we think people are this is Will Smith, this is
Will Smith. Like these guys,
I just feel bad for her and everything that's gone on with his wife, and she has said things, and it just
is awkward.
As somebody that it just gets I suffer I'll get anxious and depressed, and something I will battle every day. Like, to see that really just messed me up for a second. I was like, I just didn't want to see that in real time, and that more than I know people are the laughter and all this stuff. I'm going kind of in a weird way with this, but it definitely bummed me out.
Yeah, no, and it's sad because we know the story. He was laughing first. Jada looked at him, and then he got on stage and smacked him. That's why Chris Rock thought he was joking. That's why he's smiling. That's why he didn't brace himself to fight. He's just like, oh, hey, man, what's up? He thought he was playing a character and he was going to improv with him for a second. And then he smacked him. What just fucking happened? Are you serious? And Chris Rock held back. Chris Rock had a joke ready. Ready
he
to
had
go.
One. Oh, yeah.
He was just like, you know what?
Unbelievable constraint to just be like,
wait.
Into his credit,
that's a respect for the Oscars right there. Could not even for Will Smith. Somebody smacks you, you lose all respect.
No, that was in this moment. This is the biggest stage for this. I am very impressed that he had
he respects the Academy. He's hosted the Oscars before. He's like, I want to come back here. This is not. Let me let that go. I got a comedy tour soon. I'll say something then.
It's awkward. Awkward then that he has to go on and give the presentation for best documentary. It's like, how can you? Oh my God! Talk about trying to just move forward.
It was great theater, but the people that lose here, Will Smith loses, but he apologized. He'll be fine, but it's embarrassing because it was his highest moment, and it kind of tainted it.
Totally,
people that it ruined it for were the Williams sisters, Venus and Serena, and the other sisters, and the mom, whoever's still around. I don't know if the mom's still alive, but it's just sad, man. That's their moment to honor their father and their story, and nobody's talking about King Richard and Will Smith playing their dad and winning the Oscar. It's all about how Will Smith smacked Chris Rock, and was it real? And then the memes, and then keep my nice name out your mouth. And now you're talking about Jada and Will Smith, and it's not about Richard and their dad. And they're probably sad, and they'll never admit it, and they probably know Will Smith personally, obviously at this point. And it's just they probably feel for him, and it's just, it sucks. Yeah, but they'll be all right. They have a lot of money, you know what I'm saying? So, but at the same time, I still feel bad. Yeah, but anyway,
it was tremendous theater. There's no doubt about that. Post games on it, and people. It'll be. No one will ever remember anything else from that. You feel for the hosts and the winners. It won't.
Maybe they'll always have their award. The movie is now infamous, maybe now also maybe people are going to remember it more all time because of that. Did you, going back to the Thibs, this is another thing that happened over the last few days since we last recorded, the Thibs press conference after the Knicks won without Randle.
Sure.
What did you think about that, man? He came off, Friday night. He came off so condescending. And Knicks win without Randle, and it's a big win. They come back against the Heat. They were down 17, I think, and they come back in the fourth quarter, led by McBride and on the road, and quickly was unstoppable, had a big steal. And then Thibs after the game is just scolding the fans, saying I don't go on social media, and your fans have these quick opinions and they don't even study tape. And, it's just seemed like he was doing everything possible to take the attention away from the young players just to defend Randle. It was bizarre.
Yeah, he was gaslighting the fans. Oh, you don't watch tape, you don't know that. But it's all right. Give me a break. And he's so egotistical and prideful that he went against something that he doesn't like to do, and it paid off. So even though he's paid to get wins, it was still a loss for him publicly. So that was his way of defending himself. And quite honestly, you're never going to win that argument, especially against Knicks fans. You have no chance. What are you
No.
gonna like? Oh, like, you know what? Thibs was right. Alex, gotta go. Saturday morning.
Yeah,
I'll be
that's it.
sorry, honey. I'll be in the theater that we have, and I'll be watching film. I gotta learn a little bit about this pick and roll here.
Forget our brunch plans. I gotta watch Obi Toppin down low on the post and see if he turns the right way.
So
No,
stupid.
it's just it was crazy, man, and it just came across as egotistical, like you said, and I lost where I was going with this, and it's just sad because it just shows that Thibs has really, really lost himself, and he really is not going to change, and it shows how loyal he is to Randle. And I wish I remembered my point, but that's kind of the gist of it, and it just sucks, man.
I can't
It
wait to
does.
see. I'm so interested in what kind of trade they can get for Randle.
Yeah, it's fascinating
Because
I don't know
I mean,
what's gonna happen.
look at the Knicks. You obviously, the good news is you're going to get somebody in return that replaces him, and then the nightmare's over.
Mm-hmm. It's like you move on. Yeah,
Move on. Is it picks? Is it cap relief? Whatever it might be, the nightmare's over, and you move on. And yeah, Randle, 100% Obi Toppin's growth has been stunted in New York because of that. Now, the last couple of games, and this is me not being a dick, so I apologize. But you get excited about Obi Toppin with a move. It's 2 years in. It's at the end of the season. Like, it's come to that point where you're like, oh my God, he made a move, and it's not because he doesn't maybe have the inability. You never got a chance.
you never saw it. Yeah, yeah. Now he's 24.
Like,
You're
he
like,
made
what
a
are we
nice
doing
move.
here?
Right. He's 24 years old in the NBA. He had a spin move. You're like, that was great. And I get it. I feel that same way too, but it's just because he's been buried for so long that you get excited about that kind of minutia. And I found myself like rooting for Toppin to play well, just because as a human being, I want to see him to at least have a chance. Seems like a good dude.
Right. Yeah, he seems like a nice guy. And the point I was making before, which I can bring in full circle here tonight, the crowd is cheering for Obi to come in. Obi. They're chanting for him. Obi Toppin, whatever. And they're booing Randle. And then finally, and Randle's like 1 for 9, hits his first shot at like 10 minutes left in the third quarter. And it was a terrible game as a technical foul, and he finally sits him down. And then Obi comes in and doesn't dominate, but he plays really well, hits a couple threes, gets that post move on Levine. He looks really good. And, Knicks fans over the whole weekend, with every time that a young player would do something, or like, or when Randle would do something bad, it's like, wait, am I allowed to criticize Randle, or do I have to watch this 3 or 4 times on film before I'm allowed to do this now? So that's the thing that Thibs has created now. You've given fans who already dislike you more ammo, because now you're mocking our intelligence. You're acting like we don't know what we're talking about. Obviously Knicks fans, we always joke Knicks fans are the most smartest fans. Obviously, there's no way to gauge that, but Knicks fans know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? We know basketball to a certain extent. Like, some are idiots. Trust me, I know, and argue with them often on Twitter, but we can, when somebody's playing poorly, it might take some people longer than others to see it, but for the most part, the majority are going to see, like, what are you doing? And the only people who are defending Thibs at this point are people with sources or work at MSG, and it's just a bottom line. And you could see it, or people who just don't want to give in to what they believed already. And there's a couple people that still think Thibs should stay, and I get it. I get that sense where, like, all right, let's just see what he is in the beginning of next season, and I can wrap my head around that rationale of, let's see what he does in the beginning of next season. And if he's not good, then we can let him go in the middle of the year or something like that. I can wrap my head around that opinion, but what I can't wrap my head around is totally absolving him from everything that's happened this year. When people say, like, what did you expect him to do? I can't wrap my head around that. The people who are saying that, the people who have sources in the organization, podcasters who have sources in the organization, or people who work at MSG that just don't want to get fired. After that Thibs press conference, after the win in Miami, MSG went right to commercial, because they didn't want Wally or somebody like that getting up on the panel, or Monica McNutt, who wouldn't hold back because she doesn't care. She works at ESPN. She would be fine, just get up there and be like, what the heck was that? And they came back and they did Bill Peto's little 160-second, whatever the thing he does, highlights, fastest, whatever seconds, and I was just like, oh, okay, well, time to shut this off. It was insane, man. I can't believe that he is that arrogant. And, it's part of why I didn't want him to be the coach. But I rationalized that if they gave him talent, he'd win because he knows how to coach. But when something goes south, he's just too stubborn, man. It just comes to fruition.
Julius Randle's year, it stunted their team growth. It's weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That an all NBA second. I mean, what a blip.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a player in New York sports that had such a stardom that was that quick of a blip that went from okay, loved, now hated?
Fitzpatrick, maybe. He wasn't on the level of Randle, but they were 10-6 and whatever.
Yeah, but not like
set the Jets single season touchdown record. That was a big, but
I don't think there's anybody. Like there's been guys that have come and been bust, but
or got hurt and then
never bursted on like that, was beloved.
Mm-hmm.
The hashtag King of New York to whatever the new hashtag is. Trade him. I can't think of anybody. Tweet us. I'd love to know somebody. Tell me.
Well, like our boy Dolan J. Trump would call him Julius Scandal.
His writers had to help him with that.
Yeah.
No trivia tonight.
No trivia. I forgot to tell him too. And I forgot to spend. I'm sorry. I had a bad week. Sorry, guys. We'll get back to that another time. But we do have the New York Knicks poll question of the week at Knicks Central. You want to do that? Okay, let's get to that. Where is it at? Now I got to find it. Say something, Mike. Let me find it. Hold on. I'm just gonna.
No, you can find it.
Okay, good job. I found it. Okay, at Knicks Central, Knicks fans, once a week I ask a poll question. During the final stretch of the season, what is keeping you engaged? RJ Barrett's progression, all of the young players playing well, pretty much, Julius Randle, or Thibs' coaching? What do you think?
Knowing Knicks fans, Thibs is coaching. I think it's the young players.
I clearly put Randle and Thibs on this poll just to prove a point to people who are still defending them.
But what's the percentages?
All of the young players won 62.7%. RJ Barrett's progression 32%. Julius Randle 3.1%. Thibs' coaching 2.2%. A lot of fans responded saying options A and B, RJ and the young players, but I just wanted to separate it a little bit just to see, what people were thinking. Because obviously it's like RJ is like on a different level than the other young players. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're not comparing RJ and quickly. You know what I'm saying? So, a couple shout outs. We have our boy L Boogie. He's at ELBOOGIE 8. If Thibs would have used the young players earlier, we would not be asking for his damn job. We need a new young coach. That coach in Boston has done a great job. He has.
Yeah, former net assistant.
Yeah. And then we have Yankees Pride. He's at R Pennington 28. The Knicks, period. So he's only rooting for the Knicks. He doesn't care about who was on the team, which I like that. Then we have our boy Cedric 13. He's at C13ALAM. And he wrote 2 words, Emmanuel Quickly. So he's a big Quickly fan.
And down the stretch there, RJ Barrett could not make that turnaround. It was Quickly that got in the paint, kicked it out to Burks.
That was a big pass, man. That was a great pass. I mean, RJ hit those 2 free throws to kind of put the game away. I did not like some of the plays to seeing a little bit of a trend. I had to say this on the podcast. I didn't want to tweet it because people would take it the wrong way. I'm seeing a little bit of a ball hog. I did tweet it out a little bit, like on one play. I'm seeing a little bit of ball hog nature in RJ lately, and I'm not really liking it. Like he's going one on the team, kind of mellow ball, kind of Randle ball, where I'm not really enjoying that kind of play, and I don't like that trend to develop. Continue to drop 28, 30 points a game. Sure, do it, fine. But eventually that kind of habit is it might catch up with him, and I hope it doesn't.
10 of 24 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3, 43 minutes, 7 free throws. It's a lot of minutes.
How many? What was he from the line? 7?
Just 7.
6 to 7. See, that's good, man. See, there you go. So DeRozan's incredible, man. DeRozan is just incredible from the line. He's like, what was he, like 11 of 11 from the line? 12 for 12. Jeez. Guy's incredible.
Those are stars, man. From anybody.
The Bulls didn't?
3. No, they got no production from anybody else.
And then the free throw disparity, the Knicks were terrible at the line tonight, besides RJ, I guess. and quickly missed a few, and he's like 90-something% at the line, and the Bulls were on, like hitting all their shots, and that's why they were in the game at the end. The Knicks could have blown them out, or just been in this game and put them away early, or early in the fourth, I should say.
Speaking of free throws, the stress of watching Nikola Jokic at the line. Oh my God, that Nuggets game was terrifying. Good win. They beat the Hornets.
Oh,
I was watching on League Pass.
I just know that he's a funny free throw shooter. Yeah.
he was 4 for 8 from the line, and then he finished like 8 of 12. But it was like
God,
the stress of watching Denver versus Charlotte because I mean it's a pivotal game. But I'm in a much better mood than I would have been if they lost that game. If the Nuggets lost and the Hornets won, I would have been in a much worse mood. But that kind of salvaged a little bit of the disaster that was Monday night or Sunday night.
Yeah, no, that definitely kept you a little more alive. That when that game, you go into Wednesday, you're like, oh shit, like here comes the 9th seed. You're like, God damn. Now you're in this thing. They're still in this thing. You got a lot of games left. Not a lot, but you got a good amount of games left. It's not over. So I don't care though. Hope they lose. So I'm just looking forward to next week. We're going to record obviously after the Nets game next week. Hope the Knicks win. That'd be nice. That'd be a nice little, jab.
To I would understand.
Season ends,
if you got it, God bless.
It's crazy. It's crazy how like this season is just kind of holding on. It's weird. It's just you almost want, as a Knicks fan, you almost want to be eliminated just so you don't have to think like, anything's possible, after, because, as a Mets fan, as any Mets fan, after 2007, you're just kind of like, all right, what? It's never over. Or it was a Knicks fan, Reggie Miller scoring all his points in the last few seconds. You never know.
I mean, it's I get you. I mean, it's 5 in the loss column because that's where you really have to concentrate because you can't make those up. Atlanta's schedule. You want to see Atlanta's schedule real quick? You want to play that? We can play that. That's
and you also don't want to play the Hawks in the play-in tournament at that 9-10 spot because we know how Trae Young can get, man. I don't want to give him props or anything, crops or props, but you know how he can knock down some shots and get hot, and Capella down low will dominate Drummond, and you'll just be like, oh shit, like one of those. So
no, I get it. They went to the Eastern Conference freaking finals at Thunder Wednesday. Cavs home Thursday.
This is the Hawks.
Yes. They have the home versus the Nets Saturday, at Raptors, home Wizards, at Heat, at Rockets.
Ooh, yeah. So what are the Heat at the end and that second to last game, and then the Rockets to end is should be a layup, because they're.
Well, I mean, what are the Heat? Yeah. They're probably going to be in the mix for that 1, 2, 3, or 4 seed. It'll be interesting. Like that's what they'll be thinking. I'll be curious to see if teams like strategically move to maneuver.
Away from the Nets,
like the 4 or 5. Like if you're the 4, would you rather play? Like to me, you rather have Chicago in the first round than
the Nets.
Yeah, just because I mean, Chicago's better right now,
but again, the Nets they're not that scary. They're just scary because they have Durant and Kyrie, which is a weird thing to say. Which it's a weird thing to say because it doesn't make sense as I'm saying it, but it does. Like they have Durant and Kyrie, but they're not this world beater team that you know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, you don't want to play them because you get punched in the mouth in game 1. Your team, the guy, all the reserves on that team are going to give up. Like, oh fuck, we're fucked. You know what I mean? So that's, it's so that's why you don't want to do it. But at the same time, it's just, why is everybody so, I'm answering my question, but I can see why people wouldn't be scared of the Nets. Like the Bucks aren't going to go into that. Like, oh no, we don't want to play the Nets.
Them the least,
yeah, exactly. So
them the least, but it's the
that's why you want to get out of that 9-10 too. So you're not the 8 seed.
No, I get it. No, it's because when they have been dynamic together at points, and they're that good, and they have a balanced roster. I mean, the Nets now have at least some balance, especially Ben Simmons back, depth on this team. Dragic has given them such good minutes. Seth Curry has filled the void. Andre Drummond's been great. Nick Claxton defensively has been fine. He's been very good, more than fine. We don't have to go down this road. I know we're wrapping shit up, but no, it's it'll be interesting, no doubt.
Yeah, Mike. All right. Well, I'll leave you with a joke. What did the police find when they dusted Chris Rock's face for prints?
What's that?
Fresh prints.
Oh my god. Or did you make that up?
No, I did not. I stole that from somewhere.
I
My buddy,
thought that was original.
No, my buddy
Not an
on
AB?
Facebook posted that. No, not an AB original.
Not an AB
From Alec
original, the
Burks,
real
no.
AB.
Yes, no, not for me, but that was funny.
Bad Weather Fans, episode 110. Hey guys, find us on YouTube. If you're watching there, tweet us at Nick Central, at Mike Delivers Pod. And episode 111, we'll know a lot more about the standings. We'll have more in depth as we get down towards the very end of what has been a wild and bizarre season for both the Knicks and the Nets. And we are at the finish line on episode 110. Alex, this episode a little less feisty.
Yes, definitely more fun. This episode it was definitely a little more fun.
Yeah, fuck you. Talk to you later.
Bye.